Let's do a quick fiddle tune before we start off our magic review today. Alright everyone, that's all we're getting today on the fiddle. If you're new here, I'm FiddlinJonny and this is my fiddle channel, but it's also a magic review channel. And today we are going to actually get into this release by Craig Petty called Visible. And before we even get into it, look, Craig, I assume you're watching. In homage to you and a man of plaid, I have put on my finest plaid today in your honor. I don't wear it as good as you, but thought I would do my plaid. Anyway, for those who are interested in this review, look, I purchased this with my own money and am totally independent and unbiased about what I think about this. So stick around and I'll let you know what I think. All right, you're back. I'm glad that you guys are here. I really do appreciate it. All right, this is going to be an interesting one because I'm going to give you more detail than any other reviewer out there on Craig Petty's release through the 1914 of Visible. Trust me, I'm just going to give you more detail than anybody else. Now that might mean for some people, oh my God, he's going to drone on and drone on. No, I promise I won't drone on and drone on. I'm going to get right to the point on this one. All right, well, let me start off with some droning then, since I'm not going to do any of that. I love the Invisible deck. Been using the Invisible deck forever. I have real problems with people who are using the Invisible deck, however, because it seems to me that everyone does the classic routine, the Invisible deck. You must remember that the Invisible deck is a routine. The deck is technically the ultra mental deck. And then what became popularized was the Invisible deck routine. And I think that limited magicians' thinking on that there's one routine and it's a one-trick pony that's done with this deck. And I think it has hurt magicians on this and has stifled creativity and thinking on it. It's originally released in like the 1930s as the Ultra Mental deck, and then it became popularized with the Invisible deck routine. Now, some of you, I'm going to assume that most of you are magicians and know what the Invisible deck is, but I'm going to spend a bit of time for those who are brand new. If you're brand new to magic or relatively new and you're looking for products, this is going to be one I'm going to just highly recommend right out the front. Stick around for the entire review, but I think there is a lot here for you on multiple levels. So if you don't know what the Ultra Mental deck is, or I should say the Invisible deck, the classic routine is that the performer hands an invisible deck, no deck, to your spectator and will ask the spectator to shuffle those cards. And everyone uses the same dang joke about, first you have to take the cards out of the tuck case and then shuffle. So anyway, they do so. They'll ask your spectator to imagine pulling one card out or selecting one card and turning it upside down and returning it to the deck. They know what that card is in their head. It's their thought of card, whatever they choose as their thought of card, and can be any card in the deck. And turns it upside down in the Invisible deck, puts it into the invisible tuck case, and hands it back to the performer, who then magically, however they decide to, makes that deck appear in reality. And in reality, they're going to open up that deck, will ask your spectator what was their card that they turned over, and they will reveal as they spread the cards that there is only one card turned face down in that deck, and it happens to be the spectator's chosen card. Boom! An awesome effect, really awesome effect. I do think the routine is overdone and has been seen by so many spectators at a certain point that I think everyone, please update your routine and update your jokes if you're doing that routine. And this is where Craig Petty comes in the 1914 come in with a whole bunch of new ideas or old ideas that are, will be new to you for this project, and definitely some very new ideas as well. So basically, that's what you're getting. You're getting two decks of cards that are gaffed, that allow you to do a lot of different things other than just the classic routine. So let's talk a little bit about, you get this, and it comes in the mail, what are you actually going to get? Well, you're going to get the cool packaging that the 1914 always does. They are consistent. They've got this beautiful gold foiling on this box. And inside the box, you're going to get, boom, 2 packs of cards. These are 2 invisible decks, or really ultra mental decks, and they are done on the classic bicycle rider back cards. So you know the quality of the cards is good because they're using bicycle cards. So you're going to get those 2 invisible decks, and on top of that, you're going to get, now brace yourself for this, you're going to get 12 different routines that are taught to you in this. Now, of course, one of them happens to be the classic invisible deck routine, and then there's 11 other essentially new routines for you. Here's one place where, now I'll quibble a little bit. Ad copy says they have over 4.5 hours of instruction. I could not find 4.5 hours of instruction on mine. Now this is quibbling. I have maybe 4 hours and 22 minutes, give or take a couple of minutes either direction. So I guess after 2 hours, I should be pretty happy. When you hit the 3 hours, it's awesome. When you hit 4 hours, that's so impressive. There's no need to have to like even go 4.5 hours when you've already got 4+ hours of material. But all right, that's probably quibbling and over, difference of how many minutes, I don't know. But all right, so that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get the 12 routines. Let's talk about the routines. I don't want to bore you with them too much, but I'll go over some of them here. Okay, I'll go over all of them. And I'm gonna go in the order that they're taught in their tutorial. So you're gonna get Future Craig. Future Craig is a hilarious routine where basically Craig says, well, you know how card magicians do the pick a card trick, is that we call ourselves from the future and tell ourselves what the card is that you, the spectator, are going to choose. And that's how we do it. And in the course of it, he has here, spectator pick a card. His cell phone rings, picks it up, he's talking to his future self, and his future self will tell him what the card is that the spectator has chosen. And after that, then the spectator reveals their card, and the performer spreads their deck of cards, and the only card that is turned over in that deck of cards is the spectator's chosen card. And of course it was done because they were able to have their future self call them and tell them what it is. I thought it was funny and very clever. Still a little bit close to the original type of routine of the invisible deck, but I liked it. The next one is called Across, and it is a classic cards across routine. So basically, this one uses 2 invisible decks in the routine and 2 separate spectators, and basically their cards switch across to the other person's deck. Whatever their chosen card is, it goes. Then there's also called Symbiotic. You take 2 contrasting decks, so you can take a red deck and a blue deck, and whatever happens in deck 1 ends up happening in deck 2. And in this scenario, it's 3 or 4 cards, I can't quite remember, are turned over in one deck. And even though deck 1 was shown all normal originally, when now spread, shows those exact same cards are turned over in that deck. Thought it was very clever, and another way that folks haven't thought about a possibility of how they might do a cards across using the invisible deck. All right, so then there's called Celebrity Prediction. This one is great. Your spectator's going to go ahead and pick a celebrity, and then imagine what that celebrity's favorite card might be. And as you can guess by now, the cards are spread. On the back of one of those cards is the celebrity that they have chosen, and as they flip the card over, it turns out that it was the favorite card that the spectator says that this celebrity would have chosen as their favorite card. All right, then there's a time prediction. It's sort of a variation on this. One spectator is going to choose a time of day. A second spectator is going to choose a card, and you spread the cards, and on the back of one card is that the time that the spectator has chosen, and when they flip that card over, it happens to be the chosen card that spectator 2 had chosen. So you can sort of start to see some theming here about the different ways in which you can, Craig has structured some of these routines. The next one is a confabulation, number 6. And confabulation, if you don't know what a confabulation is basically it's a prediction routine where you predict multiple pieces of information. And in this one, there's 4 pieces of information that are presented. Craig does a time prediction on it. He does a money amount. He does a win or loss because he's doing it in the context of gambling. And then the 4th reveal is that all this information is on the back of the chosen card of the spectator. And here's what I would say about this routine, which I really liked, is that you can tailor this to whatever confabulation you want to do. So whatever information fits for your character or your audience, you can plan to have that set up in that manner so that you can do a confabulation that really fits who you are. Then there is sort of, we all know the classic any card at any number routine. And in this one of any card at any number routine, it's turned upside down and it's any number at any card. So you're going to have the spectator pick a number and a card. And when they go to the deck and they spread it, there'll be the number that that person has chosen, and on the back side or on the face of the card is their chosen number. So it's any number at any card. There's also a triumph. If you don't know what a triumph is, it's where you take some cards in a packet of cards and turn some up, you turn some down, some up, some down. So it's all mixed up. And at the end of the triumph, you have all the cards now facing the exact same direction. That's what this one does, with the exception of the only card that is turned upside down or upside down is the spectator's chosen card. There's number 9 is a conditional transposition, where 2 cards basically change position. So 2 packs of cards, and the cards change from one pack and go over to the other pack of cards. There's the mate deck. I love the mate deck because what it does is it's 2 randomly selected cards come together in a deck that you never touch. So you have 2 decks, and in the deck that you never touch, the 2 cards that were chosen from the other deck happen to be together in the other deck. I thought it was a very clever and great thinking there. Number 11 is a do as I do. I think this was probably my favorite routine on the entire tutorial. And what it is you have 2 packets of cards and with the spectator. And what you do is you take your packet of cards and you either do it behind your back or underneath the table. Each sort of shuffles their cards, and each will choose a card that they don't know what the card is and turn it upside down into that deck of cards. And then when they bring them back out, it is discovered that both the spectator and the performer have turned over the exact same card. And I think this is a routine that was done by Max Maven probably back in the 70s, if my memory serves me correct. I'm assuming Max Maven probably used the same method. But a really great routine to be able to do. And then of course the final one, number 12, is the classic invisible deck routine that I had mentioned at the beginning. So that's great, you've got all these routines, but they're only good as the instructions are. And so are the instructions any good? And the truth is, part of me thinks, oh, you're a reviewer, you should be pretty critical. I found it a little hard to be critical of the instruction. Craig did a really nice job in his instructions, in that he's in a large room, he's sitting at a pretty large table, and across from him he has 3 spectators. And he will perform each one of the routines that I just mentioned for the spectators, and then you'll also then get his tutorial on terms of the method and structure and how he did it, essentially. So it's nice that he's done for every single one of these routines, you actually get to see a live performance. So props to you, Craig. Nice job on that one. And it's done with a 2-camera shoot, and it's all high quality there. And I would add that the spectators, I would think after a while they start to suspect, oh, this is a gimmick deck that he's using. But they honestly seem, because there was just enough variety across these different routines, they seemed a bit gobsmacked every single time they were shown one of the presentations, and seemed to really genuinely enjoy the routines. I'll add that one of the things that you're going to get, in addition to the routines that I talked about, you're going to get, you're going to learn how to break in your deck. And a lot of people probably have never thought, how do you break in your invisible deck? So how to break in your deck, and I think especially for beginners, there's some great things here. You're going to learn the timing force. You're going to learn you're going to learn about the fake calling app that he uses. You're going to learn a crisscross force. And then you're going to learn 3 false shuffles. So I know that for magicians who have been around for any length of time, of course, know all of those sort of moves. But if you're new, they begin sort of a nice intro tutorial to be able to do those, which are then integrated into some of the routines. And I think really Craig does a nice job of explaining these. And he's a pretty good teacher there. So, all right, so we know that The routines are solid. The instruction is solid. But how is the gimmick? Because if the gimmick is crummy, what's the point in all of it? So here's what I'd have to say about the gimmick. I've been purchasing gimmicks for the Invisible Deck gimmick for a long time. And when I purchased them at my local magic shop, they have been historically made by somebody locally, and I pay more for those, but I love them because the quality is so good. And then I think we've all shifted over the last 5 or 8 years or 10 years to purchasing a lot of our magic products online. I'm no different than a lot of folks, and found that I could buy my invisible decks for cheaper, and I've never been as happy with the quality. And I think a lot of them are sold to us through Murphy's Magic, and I find that a lot of them, there is not enough rough and smooth, and so they separate as soon as I use them, or I have multiple separations, even despite that I might be applying a fair amount of pressure. So I haven't always been happy with my invisible decks. These, I would say, are still really good. They start off, I would say, really rough and maybe a little bit difficult to separate at first. For me personally, I like that because it allows me to break my deck into the level where it feels better to me in terms of where I like that sweet spot for separation. So I think these are really good. Some might not like it because they start off really pretty difficult to separate, but my personal preference is that direction because I can break them in the way that I want to. Now, I cannot say, everyone's deck probably depends a little bit different. If you live in a place that's hot and humid, your cards are going to respond a little bit different and be able to have a little bit different level of tackiness. Depending on who made your invisible deck, if on Monday it's one person and on Tuesday it's a different person making the invisible deck, the quality might be different. So I cannot say with comfort how different they are from one pack to the next pack. So I will add, and this is for the 1914, whoever is making your decks, I think they did a nice job. The only thing that I would say is that it feels like they got rough and smooth a bit on my deck tuck cases. That the tuck cases had a lot of rough and smooth on them, and I don't know if it's because they were spraying them or that was just on the hands, but a lot of them, not that big of a deal. I just rub it off and it's all good and all fine. All right, so here's what I want folks to walk away with, so we know good instructions, good solid gimmicks, at least for the ones that I have received. A lot of time, over 4 hours of instruction. What's going to be the skill level for these? It is 100% beginner. If you are a beginner, you do not have to fret. In fact, I would say this is perfect for the beginner magician. One, because it's going to give you a lot of routines that are simple to do and yet they're really strong. If you're a professional or a worker, it's going to be just as good for you. If you don't have some of these routines and you don't do these routines, it gives you other methods to do it if you're interested. Or maybe you're using an invisible deck, or maybe you haven't used an invisible deck for years, and it might be a good time to reimagine how you might use the invisible deck. But I do think for a beginner, this is probably really great. In fact, I'm going to make a solid statement here. I think this release might be the best release for beginners this year because it provides a lot of routines that are easy for the beginner to do at a price point that makes it a great value. All right, boom. That was kind of heavy to the camera, wasn't it? All right, let's talk about some of the pros, which are all things I've said. Just lots of possibilities and different routines. It opens up your mind to think about how you might use your invisible deck. I think that for routines, there's something here for every different type of card performer. So whatever your card performer you are, there's going to be something there for you. All right, and it can be adapted for any character type as well. The routines are solid, I've mentioned that. Something for everybody in this. There's a full performance for every single routine, so you get to see what it really looks like in real life. And Craig has applied the right amount of detail. There is no fluff in this. You don't get any extra stuff like, oh, that's a waste of my time. It's just to the point and taught well, no fluff, and you get what you need. You don't have to worry about your math skills. Some people have avoided the invisible deck because they have to use math at times and they're worried about in the middle of a presentation about using very simple math. And when I say this, it's just simple math. But apparently that does stress some people out. Craig has been able, through every single routine, where you don't have to worry about math one iota. You'll be able to do it without having any math skills whatsoever. So that's nice, I think, for folks who have worried about that, or for folks who have a long time avoided the invisible deck, and because of that reason, you no longer have to do that. I will add, in terms of a pro, if you watch Craig Petty's review show on Magic TV, you know that Craig likes to curse. And the pro on this is that it is family friendly. It is rated G enough. If you're a parent and you're purchasing this for your kid who's a beginner magician and worry about, you've seen Craig Petty and you know that he can curse up a storm sometimes on TV, on his YouTube channel, don't have any worries. It is totally age appropriate for the beginner at any young age. All right, let's talk about the cons. The cons are Craig doesn't curse. If you like Craig's cursing and you're attracted to the fact that his brutal honesty and unvarnished point of view, it doesn't really matter here, because the truth is he's teaching his own tricks here, but he doesn't curse on there. I'm going to say one sort of negative thing, and I feel like as a reviewer, you're supposed to come up with negative stuff. And I struggled a little bit on this one, because the truth is I really liked it. I thought it's a solid effect, and I was trying to do, like, what are some things that people would not like about this, even though I overall really liked pretty much every aspect. And I would have to say that I'm sure and I'm confident there are a lot of people who would just prefer to have this as a download. But I would have to say, at the price point is it cost $40 US. At $40 US and getting over 4 hours of instruction, if you never got the cards, you would still have received your value with this, even if you had invisible deck already. So I know Craig has addressed this, and that you can think of it as is that the cards you're essentially getting for free, but I assume that some people would prefer it as a download. I, of course, have many invisible decks, and for me, I'm happy to get new invisible decks. One, because I'm going to use them and I'm curious about what the quality is, and the quality on this is really good. So, all right, so that's all I have for cons. Who's going to like this? I've said it already. This is great for the beginner magician, hands down, because they're going to learn lots of routines, and it's great all the way up to the professional for new routines and new ways about thinking about the invisible deck. It costs $40 in the US. I think it's 30 or a little more than 30 in the UK, 30 pounds there. And I think that's a really great price for this, to be quite honest. So anyway, I'm out of breath now. I hope that was helpful for you. Wanted to make sure that you get all the detail that's helpful for you. So I think this is a really great product. I kind of hoped that I would find some fault with it. I don't know why, that sounds terrible that I would hope to find fault with it, but I didn't. I think this is one of the best releases this year so far, especially for newer magicians. It really hits the sweet spot there. So, all right, hope that's helpful, everyone. If you got the invisible deck and you use it or you don't use it, leave a comment. Tell me why you do or do not use the invisible deck. Now, it's free to hit the like button. Hit the like button. It helps with these videos getting promoted on YouTube, which really would mean a lot to me. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Subscribe right now. I am continuing to do reviews. I'm doing a review of, oh geez, what am I reviewing in the next couple days? You're going to see Stroop. Stroop test is probably going to be one of my next reviews coming up, so stick around for that. Before you go buy any magic product, drop by here first to see if I've reviewed it before you make that purchase. All right, thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm FiddlinJonny, and remember to keep fiddling around with your magic. I'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.